Dr. Yuna Kim stared out the window of the research ship New Horizon as they moved closer to the unknown planet. The blue and green world looked peaceful from space. She had spent 3 years preparing for this moment, the first contact with alien life. Her heart beat fast with excitement. "All systems look good, Dr. Kim," said Minho Park from his seat at the communications desk. The young man had joined her team just 6 months ago, but he was already one of the best at his job. "I'm picking up some strange signals from the planet's surface." Ji-Won Lee looked up from her engineering station. "The energy readings are different from anything we've seen before. It's like they're using technology we don't understand." She pushed her glasses up her nose and went back to checking the ship's systems. Yuna nodded and walked over to look at Minho's screen. "Can you tell what kind of signals they are?" "They seem to be some kind of communication system, but the patterns are completely different from human technology." "Should I try to send a peaceful greeting message?" "Yes, use the standard first contact protocol. Send it on all frequencies." The 3 humans worked together as their ship entered the planet's atmosphere. Everything seemed normal until warning lights started flashing red all over the control room. "What's happening?" Yuna asked as the ship began to shake. Ji-Won's fingers moved quickly over her controls. "Something is jamming our engines. All our systems are shutting down." The ship's power went out completely. Emergency lights came on, casting everything in a red glow. Through the windows, they could see strange objects moving toward them. The ships were black and shaped like sharp triangles. They moved in perfect formation surrounding the New Horizon. "Those aren't human ships," Minho said quietly. A powerful beam of light shot out from the lead alien ship. It grabbed the New Horizon and pulled it toward a massive vessel that appeared from behind the planet. The ship was so large it blocked out the sun. "Try to send a distress signal to Earth," Yuna ordered. Minho worked frantically at his station. "I can't. They're blocking all our communications." The alien ship pulled them inside through a huge opening. The New Horizon landed with a loud crash in what looked like a giant hangar bay. Through the windows, they could see dozens of other ships from different worlds. Some looked human-made, but most were completely alien. "Stay calm," Yuna told her team. "Remember our training. We're here for peaceful contact." Heavy footsteps echoed outside their ship. Then something began cutting through the hull with a bright blue light. Smoke filled the air as a large hole was burned through the wall. Creatures stepped through the hole. They were tall and thin, with gray skin that looked like metal. Their faces were long and narrow, with 4 eyes that glowed red. They wore black armor and carried weapons that hummed with energy. The leader stepped forward. When it spoke, a device on its chest translated the words into English. "Humans," it said in a cold voice. "You will come with us. Do not resist or you will be hurt." Yuna stepped forward, raising her hands to show she was peaceful. "I am Dr. Yuna Kim. We come in peace. We want to talk and learn about your people." The alien leader made a sound that might have been laughter. "Peace, learning? You humans know nothing. I am Commander Thexmal of the Vorthak Empire. You are now our prisoners." More Vorthak soldiers entered the ship. They were carrying strange devices that looked like chains made of light. "Wait," Yuna said. "We can discuss this." "There's no need for violence." Commander Thexmal walked up to her until he was very close. "Violence? This is not violence, human. This is collection. You are specimens now. Your weak species will provide useful data before we destroy your world." The energy chains wrapped around Yuna, Minho, and Ji-Won. The devices felt cold and made their skin tingle. When they tried to move, the chains tightened. "Take them to the research levels," Thexmal ordered. "Separate them. The female goes to Section 7. She looks the most interesting." "No!" Minho shouted as the soldiers began dragging them away. "Leave her alone." A Vorthak soldier hit him with its weapon. Minho fell to the ground unconscious. Ji-Won screamed and tried to reach him, but the energy chains held her tight. "Your friends cannot help you now," Thexmal told Yuna. "Dr. Krelvox is very excited to meet you. He has studied many species, but never a human." They dragged Yuna through long, dark hallways. The walls were covered in symbols she couldn't read. Strange lights pulsed along the ceiling like a heartbeat. The air smelled like metal and something rotten. They passed rooms with glass walls. Inside, Yuna could see other aliens locked in cages. Some looked like they had been there for a very long time. Many appeared sick or injured. She realized these were prisoners from other worlds the Vorthak had conquered. Finally, they reached a large room filled with medical equipment that looked more like torture devices. A Vorthak in a white coat was waiting for them. This one was even taller than the soldiers, with surgical tools attached to its arms. "Ah, the human specimen," it said. "I am Dr. Krelvox. You will help us understand how weak your species really is." "We're not weak," Una said, trying to sound brave. "And we're not animals for you to experiment on." Krelvox made that laughing sound again.
Not weak?
"We have conquered 47 worlds, human. Every species thinks they are strong until we prove otherwise. Your planet will be easy to take once we understand your biology." The soldiers strapped Una to a metal table. Machines with blinking lights were brought close to her. Krelvox picked up a device that looked like a needle with wires attached. "First we will map your nervous system," he said. "Then we will discover exactly how much pain your kind can endure before death. This knowledge will help us control your people when we invade Earth." Una looked up at the ceiling as the machine moved closer. She thought about her family back on Earth. She thought about all the people who would suffer if the Vorthak learned what they wanted to know. "I won't tell you anything," she said. "Oh, but you will," Krelvox replied. "Everyone talks eventually. It is simply a matter of finding the right pressure to apply." The machine touched her skin and Una screamed. 3 days had passed since Una's capture. She hung from metal restraints in the laboratory, her body covered in small wounds from Dr. Krelvox's experiments. The Vorthak scientist had been testing her pain responses, mapping every nerve in her body with his terrible machines. "Fascinating," Krelvox said as he studied the readings on his screen. "Human neural pathways are more complex than expected, but still quite primitive compared to superior species." Una's head hung down. She was exhausted and hurt, but she had not told them anything about Earth's defenses or location. Every time Krelvox asked about military bases or population centers, she stayed silent. "Your resistance is pointless," the alien scientist continued. "We have broken stronger species than yours. The Zilani warriors lasted 6 days. The Korath philosophers lasted 8. You humans will break much sooner." The laboratory door opened and Commander Thexmal entered. "How much longer do you need with this specimen?" "The human physiology is weaker than most species we have studied," Krelvox replied. "But their mental resistance is unexpected." She refuses to provide strategic information about her homeworld. Thexmal walked over to look at Una. "Perhaps you need to increase the pressure. Dr. Veltar wants results quickly. The invasion fleet is already preparing to move toward Earth." Una lifted her head weakly. "There won't be any invasion." Both aliens made their laughing sound. "Your confidence is amusing," Thexmal said. "We have destroyed civilizations that lasted millions of years. Your species has barely learned to travel between stars. We know everything about your pathetic planet," Krelvox added. 7 billion weak creatures living on one small world. No significant defenses, no powerful weapons. It will take us less than 1 day to conquer Earth completely." In another part of the ship, Minho and Jiwan sat in a dark prison cell. Through a small window in their door, they could see screens showing what was happening to Una in the laboratory. The Vorthak wanted them to watch their friend suffer. "We have to do something," Jiwan whispered. "They're killing her." Minho pressed his hands against the energy barrier that blocked their cell door. Every time he touched it, pain shot through his body. "The barrier is too strong. I can't break through." On the screen, they watched Krelvox attach new devices to Una's arms. She cried out in pain as electricity ran through her body. "Stop it," Jiwan shouted at the screen, even though she knew the aliens couldn't hear her. She doesn't know anything about military secrets. But the Vorthak didn't care. They wanted to break every human they captured to prove how weak Earth's people were. Meanwhile, far away in space, Captain Hanel Choi received an emergency message on his ship. The message was very weak and broken up, but he could make out a few words. "Attacked. Alien ship and Dr. Kim, help. Set course for the Kepler system," he ordered his crew. "Maximum speed." His second officer looked worried. "Sir, that will take us 2 months to reach. If there's trouble, then we pray we're not too late," Captain Hanul said quietly. Back in the laboratory, Dr. Veltar had arrived to observe the experiments. He was the chief scientist of the Vorthak Empire, an ancient alien who had studied thousands of species over hundreds of years. "This human is more resistant than expected," he told Krelvox. "Perhaps we need to try different methods. What do you suggest?" Veltar studied Una with his cold eyes. "Increase the neural stimulation to maximum levels. If that doesn't break her mind, we will know that humans have some unusual mental defenses." Krelvox prepared his most powerful machine. It was designed to cause pain beyond what most living creatures could survive. This level of stimulation has never failed to break a subject. They attached the device to Yuna's head. She looked up at them with tired but defiant eyes. You can hurt me. All you want. I won't. Help you. Destroy my people. We shall see, Veltar said. The machine activated. Yuna's body went rigid as incredible pain shot through every nerve. She screamed louder than she ever had before. The sound echoed through the entire laboratory. In their cell, Minho and Jiwon watched in horror as their friend suffered. They're going to kill her, Jiwon sobbed. The torture continued for 37 minutes. Yuna's screams gradually became weaker until she could barely make any sound at all. The monitors showing her vital signs began to flash warning signals. Heart rate dropping rapidly, Krelvox reported. Brain activity decreasing. Continue, Veltar ordered. Push her to the absolute limit. Yuna's eyes rolled back in her head. Her body stopped moving. The monitor showed flat lines. She is dead, Krelvox announced. Veltar studied the readings with disappointment. 37 minutes. Weaker than expected, but their resistance was interesting. Remove the body and prepare it for disposal. The Vorthax soldiers unstrapped Yuna's lifeless body from the table. They carried her through the ship's corridors to the disposal section. This was where they threw away garbage and unwanted materials. Another failed specimen, one soldier said as they dropped Yuna's body into a large metal container. At least we learned that humans break easily, the other replied. The invasion will be simple. They sealed the container and left Yuna's body in the dark disposal chamber. The room was cold and filled with waste from the alien ship. It seemed like the end of Dr. Yuna Kim's story, but the Vorthak had made a terrible mistake. They thought they understood death. They believed that when a creature's heart stopped beating, that was the end. They had studied hundreds of species, and death had always meant the same thing. They had never encountered humans before. In the disposal chamber, something impossible began to happen. Yuna's body started to change. Energy that the Vorthax machines couldn't detect began flowing through her cells. Her heart, which had been still for several minutes, gave a single powerful beat, then another and another high above in the laboratory. Dr. Veltar was studying the data from Yuna's torture when his instruments detected something strange. Energy readings were coming from the disposal section. Energy that didn't match any known technology. What is causing these readings? He asked Krelvox. The younger scientist checked his instruments. I don't know. The energy pattern is unlike anything in our databases. Neither of them realized that their 37 minutes of torture had not killed Dr. Yuna Kim. It had transformed her into something else entirely. Exactly 37 minutes after her heart had stopped beating, Yuna's eyes opened in the dark disposal chamber. But they were different now. Instead of brown, they glowed with a soft blue light that seemed to come from within. She sat up slowly, looking at her hands. The wounds from Krelvox's experiments were completely gone. Her skin was perfect, as if nothing had ever hurt her. She felt stronger than she had ever felt in her life. Much stronger. The heavy metal container that held her was locked from the outside. Yuna touched the thick steel wall and pushed gently. The metal bent like paper under her fingers. She made a hole large enough to step through and walked out into the disposal chamber. Her bare feet made no sound on the cold floor. She could hear everything happening in the ship around her. Conversations in distant rooms, the hum of engines, even heartbeats. Her senses had become incredibly sharp. Interesting, she said quietly to herself. Her voice sounded the same, but there was something different about it. Something that made the air around her vibrate slightly. Yuna walked to the chamber door. It was locked with advanced Vorthak security systems. She placed her hand on the control panel and concentrated. The locks clicked open immediately as if the technology was obeying her thoughts. The corridor outside was empty. Yuna moved through the ship like a shadow, heading toward the prison section where her friends were being held. She knew exactly where to go. Even though she had never seen this part of the ship before, knowledge was flowing into her mind from sources she couldn't understand. In the laboratory, Dr. Veltar was staring at his instruments in confusion. The energy readings are getting stronger, and they're moving through the ship. Krelvox checked his own equipment. This is impossible. The readings suggest massive power levels, but our sensors show nothing physical causing them. Send security teams to investigate. Veltar ordered. Meanwhile, Yuna had reached the prison level. 2 Vorthak guards stood outside the cell block, their weapons ready. They were tall and heavily armed, trained warriors of a species that had conquered dozens of worlds. Yuna walked around the corner and stood in front of them. The guards raised their energy weapons and fired immediately. The bright blue beams passed right through her body as if she wasn't there. Yuna looked down at herself with curiosity, then back at the shocked guards. "That was rude," she said calmly. She moved toward them faster than their eyes could follow. Her hand touched the first guard's chest and he collapsed instantly. The second guard tried to run, but Yuna was already behind him. He fell unconscious before he could take another step. The prison cells used energy barriers instead of physical doors. Yuna walked up to Minho and Jiwon's cell and touched the control panel. "The barrier disappeared, Yuna," Jiwon whispered. "But you were. We saw you die." "I did die," Yuna replied simply. "But I got better." Minho stared at her glowing eyes. "What happened to you? You look different." "I'm not sure yet, but I know what we need to do." Yuna helped them out of the cell. "We're going to take this ship and then we're going to stop the Vorthak from ever hurting anyone again." "How?" Jiwon asked. "There are thousands of them on this ship." Yuna smiled, and for a moment her friend saw something in her expression that was both comforting and terrifying. "Leave that to me." Alarm sounds began echoing through the ship. The Vorthak had discovered the unconscious guards. "Security teams to level 7, a voice announced over the ship's communication system. "Unknown threat detected." "You two need to get to the control room," Yuna told her friends. "Can you access their computer systems?" Jiwon nodded. "If I can get to their main terminals, I think so." "Good. Download everything about their invasion plans and send a message to Earth. Warn them what's coming." "What about you?" Minho asked. Yuna looked down the corridor where heavy footsteps were approaching. "I'm going to have a conversation with Dr. Krelvox." Armed Vorthak soldiers rounded the corner, their weapons charging up. Yuna began walking toward them without any fear. "Stay back," their leader shouted. "Surrender or we will fire." "You already tried that," Yuna said. "It didn't work very well." The soldiers opened fire together. Energy beams filled the corridor with bright light. When the weapons stopped firing, Yuna was still walking toward them, completely unharmed. One soldier tried to hit her with the physical stock of his weapon. Yuna caught it in her hand and crushed the metal like clay. She touched the soldier's forehead gently and he fell down, breathing but unconscious. The other soldiers backed away in fear. "What is this creature?" one of them whispered. "I'm human," Yuna said. "And you made a very big mistake when you decided to hurt me." She moved through the group of soldiers like wind through grass. Her movements were so fast and precise that none of them could even see her clearly. Within seconds, they were all unconscious on the floor. In the command center, Commander Thexamal was watching security feeds of the corridor. "What am I looking at?" he demanded. "The human female specimen," an officer reported. "But sir, she was confirmed dead 37 minutes ago." "That's impossible." On the screen, they watched Yuna walking calmly through groups of armed soldiers. Weapons had no effect on her. She moved with impossible speed and strength. Every Vorthak she touched simply collapsed. "Call Dr. Veltar immediately," Thexmal ordered, "and activate all security protocols. Lock down the entire ship." Dr. Veltar arrived in the command center just as Yuna appeared on the cameras outside the laboratory section. "How is this possible?" Veltar whispered. "She showed no signs of advanced abilities during testing." "You tortured her to death," Thexamal said angrily. "What did you do to her?" "Nothing beyond standard procedures, but—" Veltar paused, studying the energy readings on his instruments. "The power levels surrounding her are beyond our ability to measure. This is unlike anything we have encountered." On the screen, Yuna had reached the laboratory. She stood outside the door where she had been tortured and died. The heavy security locks meant nothing to her. She simply touched the door and it opened. Dr. Krelvox was inside, frantically trying to pack his research equipment. He looked up when Yuna entered and dropped everything in terror. You're dead," he stammered. "For 37 minutes, Yuna agreed. "Thank you for that experience. It was very educational." "What are you?" Krelvox backed against the wall. Yuna looked around the laboratory at all the torture devices. "I'm what you created when you decided that humans were weak enough to break." She walked over to the machine that had killed her and touched it. The device crumbled to dust. "Please," Krelvox begged. "I was only following orders." "I know," Yuna said. That's why you're going to help me send a message to your empire. They need to understand what they've awakened. Dr. Krelvox trembled as Una approached him in the laboratory. She moved with the quiet confidence of a predator that knew it had already won. Please, he whispered. I can give you information. Ship layouts, security codes, anything you want. Una tilted her head slightly. I already know everything I need to know about your ship. Your computers are quite easy to read once you understand the patterns. She had somehow gained access to the ship's entire database just by touching the laboratory's control panel. The knowledge flowed into her mind like water. Ship schematics, crew locations, even personal files about each Vorthak aboard. How is that possible? Krelvox asked. I'm learning as I go, Una replied. Death taught me many things your experiments could not. Meanwhile, Minho and Jiwon had reached the ship's main computer center. Jiwon's fingers flew over the alien keyboards as she accessed the Vorthak systems. I'm in, she told Minho. Their security is strong, but not impossible to break. What are you finding? Jiwon's face went pale as she read the files. This is terrible. They have detailed plans for invading Earth, but that's not the worst part. Look at this list, Minho read over her shoulder. The screen showed dozens of star systems with names he didn't recognize. What am I looking at? Worlds they've already conquered, Jiwon explained. 47 different planets. Billions of people enslaved or killed. Earth is just the next target on their list. In the command center, Commander Thexamal was coordinating search teams throughout the ship. Report on the human creature's location. She was last seen in Laboratory Section 7, an officer replied. But sir, our sensors can't track her movements. She seems to disappear from our instruments. That's impossible. Send more troops. Sir, we've already lost 30 soldiers. They're all unconscious but alive. The creature seems to avoid killing our people. Thexamal found this information puzzling. Most escaped prisoners tried to cause as much damage as possible, but the human was being careful not to kill anyone, even though she clearly had the power to do so. Dr. Veltar was studying energy readings from multiple locations around the ship. Commander, I'm detecting the same energy signature in several different places at once. Either there are multiple creatures or what? Or she can somehow be in multiple locations simultaneously. This was exactly what was happening. Una had discovered that her new abilities included something the Vorthak couldn't understand. She could split her consciousness and appear in different parts of the ship at the same time. One version of her was moving through the engine room, learning how Vorthak technology worked. Another was in the communications center, preparing to send a message to the Vorthak Empire. A third was hunting down the soldiers who had been particularly cruel to other prisoners. Lieutenant Krexthun was one of those soldiers. He had enjoyed torturing captured aliens from other worlds. He thought he was safe in his personal quarters. Surrounded by advanced security systems, the lights in his room suddenly went out. Emergency lighting activate, he commanded, but nothing happened. In the darkness, he heard a gentle voice. Hello, Lieutenant. Krexthun spun around, trying to see where the voice came from. Show yourself. You tortured a family of Korath refugees last week, Una's voice continued. A mother and her 2 children. They had done nothing wrong except survive when their world was destroyed. They were specimens for research, Krexthun replied, trying to sound brave. It's not personal. Everything is personal when you choose to cause pain. Krexthun fired his weapon randomly into the darkness. The energy beams lit up the room for brief moments, but he couldn't see anyone. Where are you? He shouted. I'm everywhere you're afraid to look. Suddenly, Una appeared directly in front of him. Her glowing eyes were the only light in the room. Krexthun tried to step backward and fell over his own furniture. I'm going to give you a choice, Una said calmly. You can help me free all the prisoners on this ship, or you can spend the rest of your life having nightmares about the people you've hurt. I choose to help, Krexthun whispered. Good decision. Una touched his forehead, and suddenly Krexthun could see and feel the memories of every person he had tortured. He experienced their pain as if it were his own. He understood for the first time what he had really been doing. Now you know, Una said. Go free the prisoners. All of them. Back in the command center, officers were reporting from all over the ship. Detention. Level 3 reports all prisoners have been released. Engine. Room security is not responding. Communications. Array is showing unauthorized activity. Commander. Thexmal realized they were losing control of their own ship. How many soldiers do we have left? About half our security force is unconscious. The others are too frightened to engage the creature. Dr. Veltar looked up from his instruments with a shocked expression. Commander, I'm detecting something else. The energy readings suggest this creature is not just powerful. She's learning and growing stronger every minute. What do you mean? Her energy signature was already beyond our instruments when she first appeared. But now it's increasing exponentially. Whatever she's becoming, the process isn't finished yet. In the communications center, Yuna was preparing to send a message across the galaxy. She had forced the Vorthak communications officer to help her access their long-range transmitters. This message will reach every ship in your empire, she told the frightened alien. Make sure the translation is perfect. She began speaking into the transmitter. Her voice would soon reach thousands of Vorthak vessels across dozens of star systems. This is Dr. Yuna Kim of Earth, speaking to the Vorthak Empire. You have made a serious mistake. You believed that death was humanity's weakness. You were wrong. Death is how we evolve. She paused, knowing that her words were being heard by Vorthak leaders across the galaxy. You tortured me to death because you thought it would teach you how to conquer my people. Instead, you taught me how to stop you. I am giving you one chance to end your empire of conquest peacefully. Free all the worlds you have enslaved. Release all your prisoners. Return to your home system and never leave it again. Another pause. If you refuse, you will discover what humanity becomes when you push us beyond the limits of death itself. You will learn why you should have left us alone. The transmission ended. Across the galaxy, Vorthak commanders listened to the message with confusion and growing fear. They had never heard of any species that could survive death, let alone become stronger from it. On the flagship, Commander Thexmal received reports that the message had been heard by the entire Empire. Sir, an officer reported, High Command is demanding to know how a dead human sent that transmission. Tell them, Thexmal said grimly, that we may have awakened something we don't understand. In the ship's medical bay, Yuna was helping the freed prisoners from other worlds. Many were injured and sick from months or years of Vorthak experimentation. You're safe now, she told a group of young aliens who looked like they were barely more than children. No one will hurt you anymore. An elderly Korath male approached her carefully. Are you truly human? The stories say your people are peaceful. We are peaceful, Yuna replied, until someone forces us not to be. Dr. Veltar worked frantically in his private laboratory, trying to understand what had happened to the human. His instruments were detecting energy patterns that shouldn't exist. According to everything the Vorthak knew about biology and physics, the quantum resonance readings are impossible. He muttered to himself as he studied the data. No living creature should be able to interface with subspace fields like this. He activated his most advanced scanner and pointed it toward the medical bay where Yuna was helping the freed prisoners. The readings that came back made him drop his instrument in shock. The scanner showed that Yuna wasn't just using unknown energy. She was connected to something vast and incomprehensible. Her consciousness seemed to extend far beyond her physical body, reaching into dimensions that Vorthak science had never discovered. What are you? He whispered. A gentle voice answered from behind him. I'm what you made me. Veltar spun around to find Yuna standing in his laboratory. She had somehow entered without opening the door or triggering any of his security systems. This is impossible, he said. My laboratory is sealed. No one can enter without authorization. Physical barriers don't mean much to me anymore, Yuna replied. I wanted to talk to you because you're the one who understands what you did to me. Veltar backed against his equipment. We followed standard xenobiology procedures. The amount of neural stimulation was within normal parameters for most species. But humans aren't most species, are we? Yuna walked over to his instruments and touched one of the quantum scanners. Immediately, new data began appearing on the screen, information that made Veltar's eyes widen in terror. These readings, he whispered, they show that humans are connected to quantum fields that we didn't know existed. Your species has dormant capabilities that activate under extreme stress. Specifically when we die, Yuna said. Death isn't an ending for humans. It's a transformation trigger. You activated something that evolution designed as our ultimate survival mechanism. The data on the screen showed the truth that the Vorthak had never suspected. Humanity's rapid technological advancement, their ability to survive disasters that should have destroyed them, their strange resilience throughout history, it was all connected to this hidden aspect of human biology. Your species has survived ice ages, asteroid impacts, plagues, and wars that should have wiped you out, Veltar realized. Every time you faced extinction, some of you underwent this transformation. And now you forced that evolution to happen artificially, Yuna said. Congratulations. You've awakened humanity's true potential, 3,000 years ahead of schedule. Meanwhile, Captain Hanil Choi's rescue fleet had finally arrived at the edge of the Kepler system. His sensors immediately detected the massive Vorthak ship. Sir, his communications officer reported, we're receiving a transmission from the alien vessel. It's Dr. Kim. Put her through immediately. Yuna's voice came over the communication system, calm and clear. Captain Choi, this is Dr. Yuna Kim. My team and I are safe, but we have a serious situation here. Dr. Kim, thank goodness you're alive. We're preparing a rescue mission. That won't be necessary, Captain. I've taken control of the Vorthak ship, but I need you to stay back while I finish something important. Captain Hanel was confused. How did you take control of an alien warship? It's complicated, Yuna replied. I'll explain everything later. Right now, I need you to prepare Earth's defenses. The Vorthak Empire was planning to invade our world, but that's not going to happen anymore. On the Vorthak ship, Commander Thexamal had gathered his remaining officers in the command center. They were trying to decide whether to surrender or keep fighting. Our weapons have no effect on the creature, his tactical officer reported. And she somehow gained access to all our systems. She knows everything about our military capabilities. What about the other ships in our fleet? Thexamal asked. They're maintaining distance, waiting for orders from High Command. Dr. Veltar entered the command center, his face pale with shock. Commander, I must speak with you immediately. What have you learned about the human? We have made a catastrophic error. Humans are not a primitive species. They are the most dangerous creatures we have ever encountered. Veltar activated the main screen and showed his readings to the assembled officers. Their species has evolved a defense mechanism that activates when they face extinction. When a human dies under extreme stress, they don't simply perish. They transcend their normal biological limitations. That's impossible, Thexmal said. The evidence is undeniable. And there's worse news. The transformation appears to be permanent. The human will retain these abilities for the rest of her life, which may now be much longer than a normal human lifespan. On the screen, they could see Yuna in the ship's main hangar, where she was helping load the freed prisoners onto smaller ships that would take them back to their home worlds. If one human can become this powerful, an officer asked, what happens if their entire species is threatened? Veltar's expression grew even more grim. Based on these readings, a fully transformed human population would be unstoppable. They could reshape matter at the quantum level, travel faster than light without ships, and manipulate energy in ways we can't comprehend. You're saying we cannot defeat them? I'm saying we should never have tried. Yuna appeared in the command center without warning, causing several officers to reach for weapons they knew were useless. Gentlemen, she said politely, we need to discuss the future of your empire. Commander Thexmal tried to maintain his dignity. We are prepared to negotiate terms for our surrender. This isn't about surrender, Yuna replied. This is about understanding. Dr. Veltar, please show them the complete analysis of human evolution. Veltar hesitated, then activated his instruments. The screen filled with data showing humanity's development over thousands of years. Your species has faced 17 extinction-level events in the past 50,000 years, he read. Each time, some humans underwent partial transformation, allowing your species to survive and advance rapidly. But a full transformation like yours has never been recorded. Because it was never necessary before, Yuna said. Humans only fully evolve when we face threats we can't handle any other way. Congratulations. You're the first species dangerous enough to trigger our ultimate defense mechanism. She gestured to the data on the screen. Your empire has enslaved 47 worlds and killed billions of innocent people. That ends now. You cannot force us to free our entire empire, Thexmal protested. Yuna smiled, and the temperature in the room seemed to drop several degrees. Commander, you still don't understand what you're dealing with. I'm not asking you to free those worlds. She touched the command center's main console, and every screen lit up with images from across the galaxy. They showed Vorthak-controlled worlds where the slave populations were suddenly breaking free of their restraints. I'm telling you that I've already freed them, Yuna continued. Every prison, every slave camp, every conquered world in your empire. The barriers that held those people are dissolving as we speak. The Vorthak officers stared at the screens in shock. Across dozens of star systems, their control structures were failing simultaneously. How? Thexmal whispered. Quantum entanglement, Yuna explained. When you killed me, you connected me to the quantum field that links all conscious beings. I can reach anyone anywhere at any time. Your empire existed because you had more power than your victims. That's no longer true. She looked directly at each Vorthak officer. Your people have a choice. You can return to your home system and learn to live peacefully, or you can keep trying to conquer others and discover what happens when you threaten species under my protection. And if we choose peace? Feltar asked. Then humans will help you learn to survive without enslaving others. We're not cruel people. We don't want revenge. We just want the killing to stop. Commander Thexmal looked at the screen showing his crumbling empire. And if we refuse? Yuna's eyes glowed brighter for a moment. Then you'll find out why death couldn't stop me.